All right, Coach. So, how you guys handling the quarantine? How's it look like? You guys doing like install meetings, or how you guys handling that?
Yeah, I think this time right now has been very, very challenging, for every, college and university across the country. I think, our kids right now are handling it in a very mature way. I think it's been an opportunity of football. You're talking about leadership and developing chemistry in all unique kind of ways. But right now, currently for football standpoint, we're doing our weekly installs. We install on a weekly schedule of every Monday. We're kind of slowing it down. I think that's one thing that this quarantine time has given us the ability to is slow down the install. So we're really diving into the details, the what's, the whys, and making sure players are understanding not only what their responsibility is. We do a unit meeting on Mondays. You usually get the guys together for about an hour, hour and a half. Then on Wednesdays and Fridays, we'll do position meetings. So when we do a unit meeting, we'll introduce our install, usually from a PDF or Visio format. I won't necessarily get into film, but it really allows me to dive into the play concepts, the why I like these plays, what I like to run these plays, and really gives a perspective to the players where they can understand kind of really from the mindset of myself. But it also gives me an opportunity to review with them, the previous install. So I think the best thing that's happened with the way our install schedule is set up is we get a ton of interaction. And our exciting thing, getting the feedback from them, asking those guys questions in group settings on Zoom has been valuable, and I think it's kept those guys really involved in the dialogue that we're getting back and forth. And so just trying to be creative and keep them as
Right.
engaged as possible.
Yeah, it's definitely crazy times, and a lot of you guys you're having to go with the flow, and it's crazy time. Hopefully, it improves soon. But I'm gonna check my. All right, we'll get back to it. So, Coach, what do you believe on offense, and what's your own philosophy?
Yeah, just our offensive philosophy is, we want to be an attacking offense. We want to be an offense that finds creative ways to put the defense in conflict. When you talk about major areas that we put a major emphasis on, it's really three things. One is protecting the football. Obviously, the football is the program. The football is our team. We want to make sure that we're protecting the football and those who have it. And I think that's a major emphasis that we stress on our offense. And when we talk about protecting those who have it, we're talking about, our style of play, getting body on body in our blocks on the perimeter or down the field, trying to eliminate as many people to get hits on just receivers. I think a lot of times when people talk about protecting the football, they talk about quarterback decisions. But the ball can be put in a number of different people's hands all throughout the game. And so we want to make sure we're protecting the ball at all costs. Number two, I think that's most important for our identity is we want to create explosive plays. We're an explosive play-driven offense. We want to, as we talked about, finding ways to put the defense in conflict and put stress on the defense. We want to create explosive plays. I think when you look at offensive football in today's age, two number one leading indicators to success or winning football is turnover margin and explosive plays. Usually the team that outgains the other team in explosive plays is going to be the team that win the game. And so that's a huge area of emphasis for us. But I think the third part is something that sometimes goes unnoticed or not spoken about enough is we want to, as well as we want to create explosive plays, we want to eliminate negative plays. And that's something we take tremendous pride on. And when we talk about eliminating negative plays, we're talking, TFLs, sacks, really plays that don't have answers. We don't like to run plays. I don't believe in running plays that don't have an answer on it. Whether, it's field pressure, boundary pressure, we want to have answers involved on all plays to eliminate those negative plays. So how many ways that we can dictate the defense and being able to impose a mentality that we're an attacking offense is truly what I believe in.
And I know you've worked for a number of different guys. Where is that maybe a combination of influences from other guys, or is that you just built that throughout career? I mean, how did you develop that philosophy, and who helped you influence it?
Yeah, I think I've been fortunate enough to work for some great coordinators. Starting out, I had a different background than most people in my position. I was a college safety. I had known nothing about offense other than trying to defend offenses. So I learned.
All right,
Okay, yeah, no problem.
so who helped you develop that philosophy, and then who kind of influenced it?
Yeah, I think really all the coaches that I've worked for, all the offensive coordinators helped shape me. I came from a different background. Being a former defensive player in college and being a safety, I knew nothing about offense other than defending them. And so I was able to work for John Shoup, who was the first offensive coordinator that I GA'd with at the University of North Carolina. Really taught me a lot about offense. Really taught me a lot of the things that I truly believe in today. And so he's helped shape me. John Donovan, another guy who's the offense coordinator at the University of Washington. I worked for John for 4 years, and it was great times and really helped mold me. Joe Moorhead, who's tremendous offensive mind, who really helped shape who our offense is today and a lot of the core values of plays that we run today. And so I was able to learn a lot from him. I was able to learn a lot from Mike Lotzley, leadership and player relationships and everything from that standpoint. So I just think every coordinator that I've been fortunate enough to work for has helped, shape me for this opportunity and this role that I'm in today.
Awesome. Yeah, because I was looking through your history the other day, and I thought, damn, dude, he's been with some really good guys. So I was really interested to hear that. So you've coached and you've led some explosive offenses. What makes you different, or what makes you unique?
I wouldn't say different, but unique is. I think I've just been around good people, coaches. I don't take credit for anything I do individually. I've been surrounded by great coaches. Coaches that whether I was in position of power or not. Coaches that have allowed me to have influence and really help shape, a lot of our beliefs, whether that's in the pass game, run game, or name it. And I've got great coaches here that work on our staff here that, that allow me to do my job to the best of my ability by providing so much value, whether that's in details, rules, just really from a game plan standpoint, we game plan together as a group. And so I think, what can allow you to go on and be successful and surround yourself with great coaches. And I think that's very important. I know when I was a position coach, my number one job was to try to be the best position coach I could be for the coordinator. That way I can alleviate any pains that came up on his part and really kind of try to be the head coach of my position, which was very important. And so, I think that's led to making me unique, having a diverse background, number of different offensive systems. I've been a part of pro-style systems purely. I've been a part of spread systems purely, and really created the mesh of our pro spread that we run today, which is based on a lot of West Coast pro-style principles, but just doing things from spread mechanics and then the ability to incorporate the spread RPO systems. And the uniqueness that we present to people is the problems and the ways that we try to attack them. And I think we're very detailed in the way we try to attack people, and we create one-on-one opportunities for our players.
Now that we've talked about who's influenced you, maybe if you want to talk about your base, where you start your offense in the run game, maybe your base run. You don't have to go too much into detail, but maybe talk about what your day one install run game look like, and then maybe why.
Yeah, typically our day one install run game is our outside zone series. That's the area where we feel I've always felt, you need the most time to spend, working your zone schemes, your outside zone schemes, footwork, for your uncovered linemen, as far as covered linemen, combinations. We start there. We build everything off of our outside zone, and then we gradually get to our inside zone from there. And one of the things that you'll see and notice about us offensively is we run a lot of different schemes as far as in the run game. We run outside zone, we run inside zone, we run gap schemes, counter and power, with a lot of pin and pull. I believe in being diverse in the run game. I don't believe you can have just one or two run concepts and run them until you get good at them. I think you got to have different ways to attack defenses, whether that's by front, numbers or angles, but different things that you got to ask your linemen to do. And so that's a little bit of the pro style element of the pro spread. We just don't rely on one or two run schemes. We run a number of different run schemes. We run zone read, where we're reading first level defenders. We run inside zone where we're reading second level defenders. And so a number of different ways to really kind of put the defense in conflict. But starting out with outside zone and then growing from there, we'll go outside zone to inside zone to gap schemes and then to pin and pull.
Gotcha.
That progression.
I have to have you answer this. I put a poll out on Twitter the other day. Your opinion doesn't have to be what you guys do at Michigan. Do you prefer gap or zone schemes? I had a lot of guys say both, but in your personal opinion, what do you think at your level, the college level? What do you like the most?
I'm mixed. I love them both. My guys kind of laugh at me a little bit because I kind of consider myself an O-line guy. I'm more of a front guy. That I love game planning, run game, love game planning. Short yardage, goal line, stuff like that. Because I just think it's valuable. But I believe I got to have a healthy balance of both. I love gap schemes. Obviously, the ability to set angles with double teams and create movement. But I think there's some creative things that you can do with some of your zone schemes. Whether it's we're a big. We mix and balance our 12 personnel package, and within that, we'll run a number of different gap schemes and 12 personnel. We'll run inside zone. We'll run inside zone push schemes, inside zone slice schemes where we're getting fall back in a slice defend and a slice tight end.
Right.
So different variations. I think it's based on front and defensive structure of how you want to attack them. But it's safe to easy to say inside zone. But I'm a big gap scheme fan. Well,
I'm right there with you. If at the high school level, I'm a big gap proponent, but I can definitely see the zone proponent at the college level. Now that we talked a little bit in the run game, maybe if you want to talk about what you start with pass game wise, or in your personal opinion, what you like to start with on day one, and what do you like to utilize the most?
One of the things that we really break our pass game down really into 3 reads for the quarterback. We talk about coverage reads. Obviously, those are 1 high, 2 high answers. Purely coverage reads from that standpoint. We don't break it down to man or zone because the ability of teams to play 1 high zone as well as 2 high man. It's really man or zone concepts.
Right.
We have advancement reads where the quarterback starts his eyes either right to left or left to right and has something coming in his vision. And advancement, we love a good amount of that. We probably got about 20 to 25 to 30% progression or coverage reads in the offense. We got about 40% advancement read, and then about another 20 to 20 or 30 in what we call progression reads, and that's where we're specifically saying, hey, we're reading this thing bottom up or top down, 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. And so, we mix our advancement, progression, and our coverage reads in all of our concepts or in our game plan. From a concepts standpoint, you're talking day one, obviously installing, our man beater. I believe in installing our man beater type concepts. Obviously, we go against that in practice nonstop, but you got to be good versus man coverage. And that's something that, I'm a big proponent of is winning versus man because you got to be able to have answers. And so we'll do that from a number of different concepts, whether it's drive concepts. We have some read route concepts that have the ability to have the option routes on them, as well as different type of routes where a slot receiver or an outside receiver has to know if it's corners, press, yes or no, 1 high or 2 high. And have all different answers for the quarterbacks that gives them answers in zone versus man.
Now, as you were talking about that in practice, how is it with you and Don? You guys get into it quite a bit during practice? You guys get after each other? How's that?
Love Don Brown. Me and Coach Brown have a very, very close relationship, and I'm his biggest supporter in the building. He's my biggest supporter. And the thing that I love about Coach Brown and his system is they bring everything at you from day one. They bring the chaos right at you. And the thing that enables you offensively is it tests your rules. And the thing that I love the most about it is I don't get caught up in what the defense is running. I get caught up in relying on our rules and trusting our rules and playing fundamentally sound football with the foundation that we build offensively. And so we communicate back and forth all the time. Hey, that's good. Hey, I like what you're doing. He'll come to me and say, bro, that play is unbelievable, And so we've got a great relationship. We're constantly on the whiteboards, exchanging ideas of how to attack different teams. Can't be more supportive of me, and I can't be more supportive of him.
That's awesome, man. How does your install process look like? What's worked best for you? I mean, how many days does it take you? Maybe things like that you want to talk about.
Install, we typically break down the offensive installation into 8 installs. And we're talking about that 8th install being, situations and last plays. We're heavy. I believe in throwing a lot at them early on. So you look at the first 3 or 4 days of our installs, there's a lot of concepts. And then they gradually decline over the course of installation. But I'd rather install it early and pull back late than rather trying to add things later, because obviously the earlier you install plays, the more repetitions that you have at them, the more practice tape that you have to go coach off corrections. Some people like to take a gradual, slow install process to where whatever you're installing last is what you're going to rep, the fewest. And so we want to try to get our installs out in 8 installs. Good, healthy balance. Obviously, there's going to be some carryover into practice days. Some days we won't install different run schemes. We've slowed down our run game install, trying to get our guys good at what we do. And so, we've pushed some installs to last 2 to 3 installs, so we can get the reps, versus all the different looks, coach all the good details and specifics to get our guys good at what we do. And so, we'll have, typically, like I said, we'll start with our outside zone series, and that could be outside zones just purely as pure runs, getting into outside zone with RPOs, drop back, starting with our man beaters, and then start getting into some of our 2-high zone beaters to 4 and 3 beaters as well, and then mixing in some of our complementary concepts. We run a number of different protections as well. I think that's big. We have about 6 or 7 protections that we major in, and not specifically what you said. Hey, we've got one major protection, which is a tier 1 protection, but we have all different complementary protections: run action pass protections, play action pass protections, simulated 7-man pure drop back protection, 7-man play action protections. And so, mixing in heavy dose of everything to complement each other. I think that's what allows our offense to be successful, is how many complementary plays that we have based on plays that we categorize as our tier 1 plays.
Okay. And then piggybacking off that, so we've talked about install process. How does your game planning week, how's your game planning process work? Maybe what are your eyes looking at when you're watching film? Things like that.
Yeah, I'll walk you through a game planning week. So typically Sundays like to get together as a staff after watching our previous game, like to fast reel 2 games on the opposing team in their last 2 games. And really, that's kind of watching a game, not really hitting play or not hitting pause or rewind, and just kind of get a feel and a flow of the game. Try to get, an identity of what the opposing defensive coordinator is like, what they're thinking, type of aggression or type of conflict they may probably show in those games. Then from there, kind of split up, which allows me to kind of really dive into a couple more games. But then we start off on Mondays with formations. And, the thing that I look, to me, I believe there's 4 ways to put a defense in conflict. And when we talk about those 4 ways, the 4 ways that I firmly believe in, and which is kind of the foundation of what we do offensively. 1 is formations. 1 is tempo. 2 is formations. 3 is motions. And 4 is RPOs. And so those 4 ways give us an advantage offensively to being able to attack people. And so when we start off with our formations, the things that we're looking for is formations that give defenses adjustments, but give defenses problems. If we feel like we can create some kind of schematic problem, whether that's getting some type of overload or some type of adjustment, then we can take advantage of the defense. And one of the things with formations and motions is if you can force the defense into adjustments, you can slow down the defense. If a defender has to think, you take out a 10th off his 40 time because he's having to think about rules and stuff. And so we'll find formations that I like to say we look for things to where the defense has an itch, and don't assume that they fix that itch. It's our job to scratch that itch. if there's some type of unbalance or some type of formation that we know we can lock the defensive end as far as front wise or structure or pressure, we're going to use the most advantageous formations to take advantage of opposing defense. And so we'll go through our formations, the ones that we like to live in, and find any auxiliary formations. We do our base run game plan that way, and we do our base game pass game plan, and we do it all in one room. I'm a firm believer in doing it together. There's been people in the past I've heard have done pods, and I don't think you marry a game plan together. I think by doing it in one room, your run game by formations and your pass game by formations, you can marry those two together. That way they complement each other. You're running the same plays out of the same formations, and you're not just lining up in this formation to pass the ball. We want to make sure we have a good, healthy balance, of run pass out of each formation as well as each personnel. And so, we'll spend Mondays with our base game plan, try to get our base game plan done. We don't practice on Mondays with our veterans. Tuesday, obviously, we will practice on Tuesdays, our base game plan. We will also start to game plan some of the situations. By Tuesday, we'll start at nighttime, getting into game planning and looking over third down and red zone, which we will install for Wednesday's practice. So Wednesdays we do red zone and third down, and then Wednesday night we'll also start game planning as well as Thursday for other situations. So 4-minute, 2-minute, backed up, coming out, which we call it, and short yardage. And we'll put that in for Thursday's practice. Get to our short yardage calls, 3rd and 1 typically in that situation, 4th and 1. We do have a 3rd and 2 to 3, which we do on Wednesdays, but we keep that out of the short yardage down the distance. And then hit some of our situational stuff on Thursday, like I said, coming out, 2-minute, 4-minute type scenarios, as well as 2-point plays. And so base game plan Monday, base game plan Tuesday, red zone third down Wednesday, auxiliary situations, short yardage, coming out, goal line, short and low red on Thursdays.
I know. So on Wednesday, you said you guys game plan red zone. How do you look at red zone? Do you treat it any differently than you do?
Yeah. So so classify our red zone. I start with an extra classification than most people. I start fringe. So fringe to me is 35 to 26. We want to be from between the fringe and the red. I will say we're pretty aggressive. We're pretty aggressive. We want to get the ball in the end zone. I don't believe in walking it in the end zone. Just want to be aggressive any way, form. But we classified from fringe 35 to 26, 25 to 16 is our high red. Okay, 16 to 9 is our mid red. Okay, 8 to 4 is our low red, and 3 and N is our goal line. So we use those in our red zone. The way we classify third down is we do 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2 to 3, 3rd, 4 to 6, 7 to 10, and 11 plus.
Okay. I think I have one more question for you before we. So on game day, so what's it look like? Are you in the box on game days?
I'm on the field on game days.
On the field, okay.
I've done the box a little bit, but mostly on the field. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was going to say, where do you burn your eyes usually on game day? What's your in-game adjustments look like? How do you communicate with your guys? Things like that.
Obviously, we make a lot of calls from the sideline. There is calls that we'll go in that we won't make checks or make adjustments. I think a lot of what goes into game day as far as the understanding and knowledge of the defense happens before the game actually starts. Throughout the week, understanding tendencies. I think every defense has tendencies, whether that's where they set their front, where they bring their pressure, what type of coverage follows with things. And so we want to game plan specific plays to attack those. And like I said, the issue of not having negative plays is if there's some type of adjustment that the defense may present out of something that we don't have an answer to it, we won't carry it. So that allows us to have answers to plays to run, which we can feel positive that we can go out and have a successful play. On game day, calling it from the field, have our tight end coach, Coach Moore, who's in the booth. Coach Kasula, who also helps coach our receivers, was in the booth this past year. This upcoming year, our quarterbacks coach is going to end up moving up there, just Coach Casulo moved down. And so getting constant feedback, from our GAs, our coaches in the booth, about fronts and tendencies. Obviously on the field, you can't quite see front structures. So a lot of my eyes are on the back end, on the perimeter, if it's typical type pressures. But most importantly, it's thinking for the next call, being ready for the next call that's going in. And then in between series, I like to go through the flow chart. When that flow chart, I talk about, okay, what's the front they ran on the first play to our formation? What's the coverage that's matched with it? I'll go by play. Our coaches communicate that to me on the headset, and I write it down and try to look for any tendencies that maybe show up, whether it's by formation. One of the hardest tendencies that I think oftentimes gets overlooked is location of running back, and that's something I'm constantly asking our coaches. Okay, is this pressure coming, to the back? Is it always when tight end back or same side, or tight end back opposite? Because oftentimes we get caught up in formations, but you really got to remember where's your back being offset, for a lot of pistol type teams. And so communicating in between series, healthy dose with our coaches. What's happening? What's the front? Is it following up what we thought going into the game plan? There was a couple teams this year, I know, one specifically went into the game plan and completely changed their defensive structure.
Wow.
They were a 4-down team to 11 personnel. They went out and they were a 3-down team. So that changed a lot, because you're having to go to in-game adjustments, and you really fall back on the type of plays that you love versus that front.
Right.
I think one of the things that I've been around that has been very helpful is really categorizing what you like to run things against, whether it's 4-down, over fronts, under fronts, whether it's 3-down, Okie teams that play with 4 eyes, or true 3-3 stack teams, having an ideal and a thought process. What do I like to run versus those type of fronts or coverages allows you to kind of get to some of your adjustments a little bit faster in game from that standpoint. And I constantly tell, kind of all over the place a little bit, but I constantly tell our players, I constantly tell those guys, there's a difference between your game book and there's a difference between the playbook. The game book is to prepare you for throughout the week. That's based on defensive tendencies. Your game book is different than your playbook. Your playbook is our overall offense. So we would go into games, and sometimes teams would throw different wrinkles at us or different adjustments, and we have to fall back on our playbook. Well, you may not have repped that play that week in practice, but the details, the fundamentals, how to execute that play. And when you can get guys that know the difference between the game book and the playbook, it allows you to make adjustments easily and being able to take advantage of the defense successfully there. But tons of communication with our coaches, and then ton of communications with our players. One of the benefits of being on the field is I go by each position group. When we have enough time on the sideline, I go start with the O-line. Hey, what are you seeing? What do you like? How's this looking? How's the nose playing? Is he heavy, on the center? How's the 3 technique? What's happening on the field? Things that, we necessarily can't see from the sideline or in the booth. And then communicating with the quarterbacks and receivers, getting the skill guys all on the same page, making sure they're seeing things correctly. And so takes a ton of help. Got a lot of people that play, really, really important parts on game day for us. And can't do it alone. Can't do it without them.
Yep, dude, it takes a village. I definitely get that. And I was going to ask you, too, you're relatively new to the play calling. Do you have any advice for, like, first, second-year OCs, things that you've learned as you've kind of moved along?
Yeah, it's I'll tell you, I always tell people this, and it's, obviously as a first-time coordinator, you only envision, how you're going to go in and have success. But the thing that I think you got to be most important, I think that is most important, is you got to have a plan for adversity. How are you going to handle adversity? And one of the challenges that we had last year is we started out with a lot of adversity on offense, turning the ball over. I think through the first 3 or 4 games, we had fumbled the ball 12 times, which was an outrageous number considering we do ball drills every day or ball security drills every day. There's no major emphasis on anything other than the football in our program. And so I was actually in the booth at that time, but I didn't feel like I had a good pulse on the players to being able to control and and be able to lead them through adversity.
Right.
I felt like I was disconnected when a fumble would happen. I was like, there was nothing that I could do in the booth. It's not like I could go put my arm around a guy and say, come on, or pat a guy or look a guy in the eyes and say, hey, man, protect the ball. We're going to go down and score this drive. So that was really the ultimate decision that led me to leave from the booth to the field. Obviously, I sacrificed an extra pair of eyes, being able to see the game, but I felt the interaction on the field was more important. Being able to look our players in the eyes, being able to pull them through adversity, and being able to rally them and really give them confidence. So I think that was a great learning lesson. This year was just being able to have a plan to deal with adversity. But there's so much more to me in calling plays than just calling plays. I still firm believer that plays are won Monday through Friday and how you game plan. There's games that we've had where I'm telling you, I probably look like a great play caller. We go out and have a ton of success, but it's the players, it's the kids, going out executing at a high level. Obviously, when your kids don't go out and execute at a high level, you don't look like a great play caller. But the ability to teach is one thing that is very, very important. Teaching all of the details. Because the kids are what's going to make your play successful or not. If you're a good teacher and you got good teachers around you and making sure that all the coaches around you know your vision and share your same vision, I think it's very, very important as a coordinator. Because if you don't have someone on your staff or someone on your assistant coaching staff that's on the same page as you, their lack of communication can hurt you as a play caller. And so you got to make sure you got everybody aligned, X's and O's, vision, buy-in, all on the same path as you. And I think that's very important as a coordinator. You don't just wear a play caller's hat. You really manage people. You manage players. And so that's something that I really learned that has been very valuable and something you never know. I mean, you always feel like you know that when you're not the one calling plays, but until you're in that seat, that's when you realize it.
Well, I appreciate it, Coach, and I appreciate you coming on. I don't want to take too much more of your time, but good luck this fall. I really hope we have some football, especially in the Big Ten. But I really appreciate it, man. Good luck this year, and then I'll definitely be watching, Coach.
Thanks for having me, man. Keep up the great content, man. Love what you do. Love how you promote the game, and really enjoy following you.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Have a good one. All right, and good luck.
Thank you. Take care, bud.
I see. Bye.